Hello everybody and welcome to the next the right now episode. Yes, this episode of the Media Mandem podcast YouTube channel thingamajiggy bob. Clearly I do not rehearse my introductions, as you can tell. This is an episode about Thunderbolts, the 36th I think MCU film. I read that on a Wikipedia thingamajig. I'm going to give my thoughts and my feelings on the film. Going to try not to go too media studenty or film studenty on you. Hopefully it doesn't absolutely put you to sleep. If it does and it works for you as a means to fall asleep, that's great. There are content on YouTube for exactly that sort of thing, but this isn't supposed to be that. Of course, share, like and subscribe to the channel, please and thank you. That would be much appreciated. We want YouTube's algorithm to be like, hey, that channel exists, you should watch their videos. Comment and all that stuff as well. And we're just going to jump straight into it. I'm going to give this film, might seem to some as very, very, very generous, but I'm going to give this film 9 out of 10. The reason I can't give it 10 out of 10 is I'm going to go into later into the review, but I'm going to do something a little bit different and just give you the score at the beginning. Short and narrow of it, I just think that the film's really, really lovely. Not in like a romantic way, but it's got great visuals, great characters, and a lot of really good story elements that I enjoyed watching. I've seen the film 3 or 4 times now, 3 times completely, and I'm on a 4th watch through again. There are certain gripes I have with the film, so we'll go into those things as well. I'm not going to go through a pros and cons type thing. I'm just going to talk about stuff in the film and then wrap it all up. So let's get straight into it. The first thing I absolutely loved about the film, as I was mentioning before, was characters. My favourite character in the film, easily, is Yelena, or Black Widow. Florence Pugh, top spice, 100%. That's pretty much the entire review, to be honest. That's why I gave the film a 9 out of 10. There's nothing really else to talk about. I'll just wrap it up here. Like I said, don't forget, share, subscribe. I'm only joking. I do think that is true though, but that wasn't the main reason I liked her character. I thought that her character is presented as a strong female character, but not because she's a woman, just because of the life that she's lived. It's made her into a strong, smart, talented individual. But that's juxtaposed with her flaws. The human aspects of her character, the fact that she's deeply lonely, suffers from a form of depression, has this desire for connection and to be part of a family of sorts. And I love that her development through the film feels very natural. She goes from being just a spy and assassin to a leader and a friend and a cornerstone of the team, or even you could go so far to even say as the family that they kind of grow into throughout the film. If you're hearing weird noises in the background, that's literally, there's building works happening outside my window. That's what you probably might be hearing, but we'll get back to the review. So if you do hear it, it's not me making weird noises, it's people on the other side of my street making weird noises. Anyway, back to our regularly scheduled programming. Speaking of Yelena, I also liked the development of her leadership skills, and her leadership kind of... the way it forms is quite subtle, but it's effective. She earns the respect of her team through her actions, not just like, oh, I'm Black Widow's like sister, and like I was trained in the Red Room. Even though she does mention those things, that's why I'm a boss and that's why I should be the leader. It's like, no, she makes decisions that make sense for the greater team. She makes points that everybody goes, yeah, actually that's a good point still. Even though I've got my own skills, I've got my own authority, I agree with what you've said because it makes sense, and I think that's really nice that she commands her team in that way, not through arrogance or through a need to be domineering. Oh, look, I'm like the strongest female in the room, like, better listen to me. She's just like, no, that's not a good idea, this is a good idea. But then later in the film, and by the way, this review will have some light spoilers in it, I'm not going to give away exact moments too much. But the end credit scene where we see the team is fully formed now, and even throughout the film there are moments where she asks for people's opinions. She takes input from others and she accepts advice, especially from at the end credit scene when we see the team is inspecting, I should say, an object that's coming from space, and she's not sure exactly what to do or how to do it, and Bucky helps her, and she's like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll do that then. I'm like, oh, I was thinking of doing that, but it's okay that she's humble enough to accept direction, which I think is really nice, that it makes her feel like more of a person as opposed to just a character. Speaking of super soldiers, we're going to go jumping straight into what I liked about all three of them. US Agent, I really liked that he was this kind of vulnerable, almost childlike mentality in certain things, that he wants to have this constant need for approval, but he's also willing to help his team when and where he can. After they escape the vault/bunker thing, he helps to feed Ghost and Yelena. He helps them escape the weird wall pipe. Well, no, it's a lift shaft. He helps them escape. He could have just left everyone behind, but he didn't. At no point does he go, it's all about me. Even though he does say things that often come across as arrogant or brash. He's ultimately doing it because he wants people to like him. He wants people to believe in him. Because he himself doesn't necessarily believe in himself all that much. So he wants to get validation from others. Which is a nice thing that I think a lot of people who watch these films can actually identify with. Red Guardian, jumping straight to the next super soldier, I just really loved his humour throughout this film. He brings a warmth and a balance through the comic relief, but also through his kind of father figure role that he takes initially with Yelena, and then he also kind of spreads across that through the team itself as well. Specifically the scene where he finds them in the desert and he's just screaming out Yelena's name. He's like, oh, don't go to this place or you're gonna die, like, don't go there. Like, his love and his care for her led him to do this crazy thing to go and help her. But then once he sees that she's with these other people, he's like, we should form a team and your team's gonna be amazing. And she's like, oh, we're not a team, we're not this, we're not that. But he constantly believes in them. He constantly is kind of subconsciously and covertly kind of encouraging them to believe in themselves, which is really nice as well. Bucky, the last part of the trio of super soldiers, he just remains this character that I just really like. He's just someone I can't help but root for him. I just always, whenever he's there, I'm like, I just want him to just be happy whatever is going on. I will say though, I liked the duality of his character in this one, where he was more trying to be, I want to fit into society to help it without having to fight, which is quite nice. But that being said, something across all three of these super soldiers, and I think it affects Bucky the worst, is I feel like they've been quite nerfed. You don't get to see much of Red Guardian really going all out. You don't get to see much of US Agent going all out. And Bucky, I feel like the more we see him, the weaker he becomes, which kind of makes sense, seeing that he's literally grown. But his like Wakandan ultimate tech, he should be able to just be, like crushing people, brucking them up, and it's like he's never felt as formidable as he did in The Winter Soldier since then. That's a tiny gripe, but for me it feels like a big one, because I'm like, this guy should be brucking up everybody. But then in that scene where he's fighting Sentry, obviously the point of that scene is to show how powerful the Sentry is. It would have been nice to have a scene similar to what happened in Civil War, where you have Bucky and Captain America were teaming up against Iron Man, and they were like to figure out how to kind of overcome his AI or his his suit, from figuring out how they fight. They had to completely change it up, and they were just gone completely ruthless. And you're like, man, these guys are insanely, like, this is crazy. Like, you're punching a solid metal object and you're like, I don't even care, bruv. Like, I just started mashing up a ting, and it's not a ting. That's why I was like, I have to just bruck out this man's arm or I'm gonna get killed up. Oh no. He didn't say that, but he probably was thinking that. It would have been nice to see something like that in this film. A scene where, they were fighting Sentry, and all three super soldiers like, hold on a minute, we're super soldiers. If we team up and we start fighting as a unit, we might have a chance. And then having them have that scene where they're kind of doing that stuff, just to have Sentry blow them away, would have been a little bit more impressive, I think. use the tools that you have a little bit more. That's just my little gripe with them. Next character I'll move on to is Ghost. I really loved her character's kind of presentation in this film. After not seeing her for so long in the MCU, it was nice that she kind of takes this sister-like role within the team/family, where she's caring, she's clearly very loyal, and she wants to help everyone, but it's kind of tempered with this abrasiveness at times. I really liked the scene after they escaped the vault/bunker thing, and they were leaving, and she was like, oh, you know, she didn't know how to do it, but she felt regret over killing Taskmaster. That's a spoiler if you haven't seen the film, but yeah, anyway, you should watch the film anyway. And she wanted to apologise to Yelena for it, but she's kind of like, she didn't really know how, so it's kind of, oh, like, you knew that person, but she, at that point, she didn't really have any ties to the rest of the team, but she stuck with them. And even after there was ample reason to break away, she continues to stick with the team. She's showing, okay, these are people who have accepted me, and I want to stick around and help them as well, which I thought was quite nice. Also, quick point, her costume design, absolutely top tier. That helmet and the way that the whole animation for that is just amazing. I think she's definitely one of the best looking MCU characters for a while, and her phasing abilities, I love the effects that they use for that too. Last member of the Thunderbolts to come around is our main man like Bob. I really like Bob's character as well. He's this tragic but yet compelling character. You know, his backstory of the abuse that he went through, domestic abuse, the drug abuse, or the substance abuse I should say, and his mental health issues as well, I think are really pull at the human elements of a character rather than making him just a caricature. For me anyway, it made me feel really sympathetic towards him, and I really loved the bond that he began to build up with the rest of the team. At first they were like, who is this random guy Bob just like chilling out here? But then as they get to know him, they realise he's someone who's very kind-hearted, he's capable, but he's also someone who demonstrates what it is to be a hero. He sacrifices himself for them without question. He shows bravery in doing those things, even sticking around with them when he doesn't know whether it's safe or not. He's like, that's trusting. And even shows logical thinking and leadership when they're trying to leave the bunker/vault thing, and he's like, oh, maybe we should do this to get out, and they actually follow what he said, which is quite cool. Something I really did like as well is that they didn't feel, well, maybe they did feel it, but they didn't pursue it, the need to force a relationship or a romance between Bob and Yelena. There's definitely seeds there that have been potentially planted, or potential there, but I like that they just chose for them to become friends, and good friends as well. That she saw this potential in him to be a good person, that he was a good person, and that he believed that she is too, and that they help each other to bring out the best in each other. That she's like, oh, I see this man, he needs help, but not because I pity him, but because I want him to be okay, and I feel like I can help him do that, and in doing that it helps me. And then they grow together in that regard. They can see almost a juxtaposition or a similarity in each other. And it doesn't mean, oh, that just means we have to start kissing. It wasn't that. But it was nice that they were able to have that bond by the ending, where they, well, not the exact ending, but the end of the void scene or fight. As much as it feels like a shonen anime, you know, power of friendship type ending, it worked for me. A lot of people thought that was a little bit silly, but I think sometimes with with comic book films, you don't always have to have this big battle blow off to be the ending. Or sometimes logic works, especially with a character like Sentry and him becoming Void. Punching Void, obviously it literally showed that didn't work. He was punching him and it's like, it's not going to do anything to me, like that doesn't do anything. So like punching it's not going to do anything. He needed support, he needed help, he needed guidance, he needed compassion, he needed empathy, and Yelena was there for him at that time, and I thought that was really nice. Which is the exact opposite of what we saw characters like Valentina do to him when she found him and she was like, oh, like manipulating him, and you just think, oh, this is really sad to do to a character who's so vulnerable like him. Yeah. Speaking of, actually, I really did like Valentine's character though. She's so slippery, so conniving, so smart, in all honesty. It's like this character you want to dislike, but you just start to like her the more you watch the film. I thought her quick thinking, her whole character is just really well done. Even at the end, obviously the big blow off, reveal twist type thing that they do, and revealing that the Thunderbolts become the new Avengers. I thought that was a really smart way that they did it, because finally we're going to get our hands on her. And she was like, no, just revealing, these are my new Avengers, and everyone was like, oh wow. They were like, we can't even beat you up now, because she got away again, kind of thing. I thought that was quite cool. Speaking of the film in general now, so we'll move on. Those are just kind of random points I wanted to make. Cinematic quality. I think the film is very well shot. It's very well paced. It has a standout sound design. I thought especially the scenes involving the Void were really, really great. It really heightened the tension and the atmosphere when he just started making people disappear. And the colour started to drain from the world. It started to become a sort of monochrome type colour. And even the design of Void himself is just this complete void of colour. It looked nightmarish, which is scary, but also got across the point that this is what Bob has to battle with day after day. This is what he has inside him that stops him from being able to be the best person that he could be. And in a strange way, a lot of us all have that kind of thing in us, but it's nice to show that the film shows or has this kind of message that, if you have people who are around you who help to support you, you can overcome it, which is quite nice. Storytelling and flow, speaking of, I think that the narrative flows very well overall. There are a few plot points I thought that are a little bit weird, but it's all slightly convenient, I should say. But it's fiction. I'm not going to go over it and be like, they should have done this, because real life, bro, we're dealing with people who can fly, people who have taken magic substances, not magic, but super substances to make them superhuman. A woman who can phase through objects. Am I really going to start nitpicking that Red Guardian was driving through the desert and managed to see them in the middle of a desert? Yeah, not really. It's fine. I really love that scene anyways, as you know. Moving on to another element of the film, character depth. I really loved that kind of juxtaposition, like I said before, between Bob and Void. I thought the memory sequences, nightmare / sequences, were really well done and offered some really cool moments to get a little bit more of a deeper understanding of characters like Yelena and Valentina and Bob themselves, and helps you to kind of appreciate that these are people who have an emotional depth. However, this is another reason why I can't give the film a 10, is I wish that we had more of them for other characters. We got one for US Agent as well, in part, but it would have been nice to see one for Red Guardian, one for Ghost. And even better, something that would have been absolutely insane but really cool, is to have it for other characters who were in New York, who are other superheroes. Maybe just a moment where we see someone like Spider-Man having one, because he's in New York too, or Daredevil, he's in New York as well. And let's say he started taking over the whole of New York, or it spread far enough, they could have been in the catchment area too, so it would have been cool to see that. But it's fine, it's not the end of the world that it wasn't in there. I think it would have just been a cool opportunity to continue to feed in more MCU stuff into each film. That being said though, I think the themes of the film are quite nice. Friendship, the idea of this kind of duality of a person's personality, but also, obviously mental health plays a really big part or theme in this film, and the different representations of what different people go through. Depression, all sorts of different kinds of things. But also I thought showing how people can help with those things, showing empathy, compassion, trying to be unified, helping people in whatever way you can, I thought was really, really nice as well. final impressions. As you can see, I've said a lot of good things, very few bad things. I think Florence Pugh stood out in this film. I really liked her in Hawkeye, and I didn't actually watch Black Widow, but I've heard that she was good in it. I can't remember what I've seen her in before this, but I've seen her in a bunch of stuff, and yeah, everything I've seen her in, I thought she was good in, and this film continues that trend. I really feel like this is kind of the beginning of the turn for Marvel, getting back on track a little bit. They've been a bit wayward as of late. A whole bunch of stuff that had so much potential and has just fallen flat because it's just not been very good. But I feel like the Thunderbolts / New Avengers is the exact opposite of that. We're getting back on track with making films that are interesting, that are actually fun to watch, that aren't just trying to make this point that no one cares about, or making, we've got to make this specific point that's like forcing it down your throat. So there was a lot more subtlety in this film that I thought that was quite nice. Of course, I would have liked more action scenes though. I would have liked to see more fighty stuff, more fighting scenes featuring Sentry, more fighting scenes featuring super soldiers doing super soldier stuff. Would have been cool too. That's kind of it, really. I mean, I don't want to just keep talking for no reason, you know. I think overall the film's got a lot of potential, but it actually lived up to a lot of its potential, as opposed to just falling to the wayside. And it genuinely makes me feel excited about what's coming next with the next two Avengers films, and seeing how this new Avengers team is implemented and also is going to share the limelight or share the screen time with the other Avengers team as well, which should be really cool. Thank you for listening to me talk about an MCU film, Marvel film, for about 14 minutes. Been talking a whole bunch of stuff. What's your main takeaways? You already know it, bro. Florence Pugh, top spice and that. Still, Thunderbolts, you should probably go watch that film. Still, it's it's on Disney Plus. This is not good. I'm making myself laugh. That's not good. Yes, it's on Disney Plus, and you can probably get on Blu-ray and DVD by now. Definitely suggest giving it a go. If you haven't seen it already, please have a watch. If you have watched it, maybe this is a rewatch perhaps. As we normally would ask, as every YouTube channel that you watch asks, please share, like, subscribe, leave a comment down in the comment section if you liked the film. Let us know what you thought about it. If you didn't like it, also let me know what you thought about it, or what MCU or Marvel films or comic book films are you looking forward to in the near future as well. Please let me know your thoughts. I will leave you and bid you adieu, my friends. Peace out.